have been conducting a participatory process of building guidelines together with IFC. And we were able to put together from private sectors, investors, to grassroots communities and leaders in the Amazon. And what we wanted to understand is what can we agree upon, what we need for sustainable infrastructure in the context of large-scale projects. And in summary is we have to focus on planning and governance. And when we talk in the guidelines about planning, we are not just talking about very good project planning. The whole process of the project should be considering social and environmental issues from planning to implementation and monitoring. But in the guidelines, we are also talking about the systemic problems in the Amazon, and which is related to a good infrastructure national plan. And an infrastructure national plan is related to two things. One is to be related to the specificities of the territories. So what we are calling a territorial approach for infrastructure. So we can have better results, we have to understand, and we have to respond for specific demands of the Amazonian territories. And second, the necessity of the infrastructure policies are connected to other policies, social policies, environmental policies, and especially regional development policies. Then if we have this sectoral coordination, we can actually yield sustainable development. In practice, what we have been seeing, and the guidelines show when we did a lot of case studies during the guidelines, is that on the one side, we are having what the scholars are calling infrastructure projects territorially blind. So projects that don't consider at all the territories which they are implementing. And then the results in terms of risks and in terms of yielding development are very poor. And on the other hand, especially in Brazil, infrastructure projects are being the substitutes of a development agenda in the country. So you have a territory hosting a hydropower plant, and this hydropower plant project becomes the epicenter of the concept of development in that area. And then you have the environmental impact assessment as the strategic planning for the area, and then you have social and environmental mitigation processes as replacing a strategic process of development. So we have this distortion of the whole idea of development planning, and infrastructure alone will not yield to social and environmental gains. We are actually seeing exacerbating inequalities and deforestation. So I think the planning idea of the guidelines are very striking for going forward.
So Daniela, it seems to me that there's going to be some infrastructure development in the Amazon. It's largely inevitable. So how do we, I mean, we talk about this in this report, we talk about this in the country case studies, but in your mind, you work on this issue every day of the week. What needs to happen for this development to be done? What needs to happen?
Yeah, we have been working for 15 years in the field. We had the opportunity to make applied research and interventions in hydropower plant of Belo Monte, in Madeira River, in the biggest mining plants in Brazil. And right now we are conducting a project on territorial governance in the area of a federal road crossing 800 kilometers of rainforest in the Amazon, the heart of Amazonas. So in the field, when we are working in these projects and understanding how we cannot tackle these underlying issues of governance and planning, we see two main challenges. The first one is in the local level. In the local level, what we see is that we have to strengthen capacity and participation. And strengthening capacities doesn't mean only strengthening local government capacities. This is something that is very usual. We think, oh, the local governments, they are EU prepared. The reality is that the federal government is EU prepared. The investors are EU prepared. The private sector are EU prepared to tackle with the needed participation, dialogue, and cooperation. So this is one thing. The other thing is strengthening participatory processes. And participation is not only an universal right or a moral compass that we should follow, but it's also very effective for minimizing risks for investors and for implementation of infrastructure. This is something that we have been discussing a lot with IFC itself when we were doing the guidelines. And the other thing is not at the local level, but at the national level. If we need to tackle a good, strong governance, and the CSIS report talks a lot about it, we need coordination between state and society, which means more participation, and between state itself. The different sectors in the state, in the government, needs to be coordinated. And for this, we need strong institutions within the government, which means we need strong institutions within the government that has the mandate of social protection, of environmental protection of indigenous and communities' rights. These they have to be working together, although they have conflicts, they have to be working together, making counterbalance with the more economic institutions within the government. So we believe the main challenges now, especially in Brazil, is to guarantee that we have strong institutions, both in the infrastructure and economic sector, but also in the social and environmental protection sector, to be able to have this quality of governance that the CSIS report recommends and prescribes.